Hi, I'm Rachel, and this is my Would You Read It Challenge video for March 2025. The Would You Read It Challenge was brought to BookTube by @2Brody, who I'll link to down below. This was a meme, and the original purpose was to pick a pile of books, read the first sentence of said book, share it with your audience, and then ask them which books they would want to continue with. I thought that one sentence was a little too short, and I tend to elongate it to a couple paragraphs to a page or so. And I have been using old ballots of the BookTube Prize as my base of operations. So the BookTube Prize was started in 2019 by Robert Sheard as a way for the literary bookternet to come together to judge the best in literary fiction and nonfiction published in English the year before. So currently we're actually in the first of four rounds for the 2025 year. I'm an official judge, and as such I can't actually talk about my ballot and what I'm reading, what I'm thinking about it, but yesteryears are in limits, so I can talk about those books, and I've been going through the long lists of the fiction division. And just going in chronological order, I am currently up to the BookTube Prize year of 2022, and I'm judging the long list Group B. That would be our Octofinals, our first round. So it's a way for me to at least try the first page or something of all the books in the BookTube Prize, even if I don't read them all fully. In fact, in this collection of 6 books, I've only read one of the books, and I read it for myself in my own interest, but now I also get to try out the other 5 and share my thoughts with you. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Starting with book number 1, Chapman, The Invincible Earth. Chapman wakes up in the cold and the dark and the wet pre-dawn slush to the sound of his brother Nathaniel, already up and tending to the sputtering ashes of last night's fire, cursing and shivering, huddled beneath his only blanket. Despite Nathaniel's administrations, the coals beneath the ashes stayed dead, the gathered wood wet, breakfast impossible. Shelling himself out from his bedroll, Chapman rises too, offering his brother a grunted good morning before stamping his cloven hooves against the frigid ground, trying to quicken blood sluggish with sleep. As first light breaks, he stalks silently away from their campsite, climbing the last ridgeline of this Pennsylvanian mountain pass to watch the night's rainfall trickle off into the morning mist, admiring the fine accidental melody of clean water falling branch to branch. A moment later, dutiful Nathaniel follows along, dragging their bags and tools to where Chapman waits upon his outcropping of rock, one clawed hand raised to shield his golden eyes as he surveys the forest they'll cross today, snowpack still jamming the forest shadows, sparkling ice coating its swampy glacial kettles and its irregular lakes, all this waiting beauty backlit now by the red shroud of sunrise and the new day's dawn, setting aglow a vast world not yet fully explored. This, brother, Nathaniel says, placing one calloused hand on taller Chapman's bare brown shoulder, waving the other out over the territory below, this is where we will make our fortune. Pointing out the first landmarks they're due to pass today, he traces a path out on this morning gap and down through the slim strand of tilled earth that gives entrance to the Ohio Territory, then the way beyond into the unsettled, unmapped forest swamps of the interior, past the river-bottom lands and sheltered ravines where they sowed last year's nurseries, toward the next uninhabited acres where they aim to plant this year's seeds. And that was from Appleseed by Matt Bell. Book 2. Herein I begin my account with the help of my neighbor Simon Salter, since I am unable to read or write. I maintain that I am not a witch, have never been a witch, am relative to no witches. But from very early in life I had enemies. When I was a child, our cow mare at my father's inn was cross and bitter towards me. I didn't know why. I wouldn't hesitate to put the blue silk ribbon on her neck if she were here today. She died from the milk fever, which was no doing of mine, though as a young child I felt it was my doing because Mare had kicked me, and then I had called her fat-kidneyed. Was she my enemy? It takes time and experience to gain a cow's trust. Now I am 70-some years old. I'll spend no more time on enemies or loves of my youth and middle age. I'll say only that I've never before had even the smallest run-in with the law, not for fighting, not for cursing, not for licentiousness, nor for the pettiest theft. Yet attributed to me at this trial is the power to poison, to make lame, to pass through locked doors, to be the death of sheep, goats, cows, infants, and grapevines, even to cure, at will. I can't even win at backgammon, as you know. And that was from Everyone Knows Your Mother is a Witch by Rivka Gelchin. Book 3. Procaptu lectoris habent sua fata libelli. According to the capabilities of the reader, books have their own destinies. Walter Benjamin, Unpacking My Library. In the beginning, a book must start somewhere. One brave letter must volunteer to go first, laying itself out on the line in an act of faith from which a word takes heart and follows drawing a sentence into its wake. From there, a paragraph amasses, and soon a page, and the book on its way, finding a voice, calling itself into being. A book must start somewhere, and this one starts here. A boy. Shh! Listen! This is my book, and it is talking to you. Can you hear it? It's okay if you can't, though. It's not your fault. Things speak all the time, but your ears aren't attuned. You have to learn to listen. You can start by using your eyes, because eyes are easy. Look at all the things around you. What do you see? A book, obviously, and obviously the book is speaking to you, so try something more challenging. The chair you're sitting on, the pencil in your pocket. Still can't hear? Then get down on your knees and put your head to the seat, or take off your shoe and hold it to your ear. No, wait. If there are people around, they'll think you are mad, so try it with the pencil first. Pencils have stories inside them, and they're safe as long as you don't stick the point in your ear. Just hold it next to your head and listen. Can you hear the wood whisper? The ghost of the pine? The mutter of lead? And that was from The Book of Form and Emptiness by Ruth Ozeki. Book 4. Prologue. 12 September 1979. Lala comes home and Wilma is waiting, having returned early from visiting Carson at the hospital. Wilma is still dressed in her going-out clothes, one of the outfits she prefers to be seen in by strangers. A lilac steam-pleated skirt that falls just below her knees, a pale aquamarine silk blouse tucked into the waist with a broad purple belt, and a navy clutch hat that once belonged to her mother. When Lala walks through the door, Wilma is standing on the stone floor of the kitchen, arms akimbo, eyes wide with relief. "Where you was, Stella? It's almost 8:30. Visiting hours end at 6, one of the myriad indignities of hospitalization at Baxter's General, having to bid visitors goodbye and get ready to go to sleep with the birds. But today, Carson had fallen into a type of coma way before bedtime, a deep sleep from which the doctors cannot rouse him. Wilma spends the first visiting hours sitting upright next to his bed, and only when she dozes and falls off the chair and lands with her knees still bent at a right angle can she be persuaded to go home and rest. There is not much anyone can do, say the nurses, as dribble oozes from the corner of Carson's mouth and slimes its way towards his sheets. The doctors are doing tests. This coma, these tests, are why Wilma is able to take the long walk from Baxter's General back to the Bridge Street bus stand, at a stroll instead of a run, and still manage to secure a place at the front of the line of commuters. They are why her steam-pleated skirt has escaped the telltale crinkles of the push and shove and crush of the queue in its collective effort to catch the Route 22 going to Baxter's Beach, from which she usually alights around 8:30. This evening, Wilma has managed to catch the 7 p.m. instead of the 8, and has therefore been spared the usual visiting hours crowd from Baxter's General. This evening, Wilma has returned home almost an hour early, and found that Lala was not in her bedroom, reading Mallory Towers. And that was from How the One-Armed Sister Sweeps Her House by Cherie Jones. Book 5. There will be people on the sun soon. Vladimir Mayakovsky, I and Napoleon. Part 1. She opened the portal and the mind met her more than halfway. Inside it was tropical and snowing, and the first flake of the blizzard of everything landed on her tongue and melted. Close-ups of nail art, a pebble from outer space, a tarantula's compound eyes, a storm like canned peaches on the surface of Jupiter, Van Gogh's The Potato Eaters, a chihuahua perched on top of a man's erection, a garage door spray painted with the words, "Stop! Don't email my wife!" Why did the portal feel so private when you only entered it when you needed to be everywhere? She felt along the solid green marble of the day for the hairline crack that might let her out. This could not be forced. Outside, the air hung swaggered and the clouds sat in piles of couch stuffing, and in the south of the sky was a tender spot where a rainbow wanted to happen. Then 3 sips of coffee and a window opened. "I'm convinced the world is getting too full, LOL," her brother texted her, the one who obliterated himself at the end of every day with a personal comet called Fireball. And that is from No One Is Talking About This by Patricia Lockwood. And finally, Book 6. We start with some rocket schematics and then, what's 2 plus 2? Something about the question irritates me. I'm tired. I drift back to sleep. A few minutes pass, then I hear it again. What's 2 plus 2? The soft feminine voice lacks emotion, and the pronunciation is identical to the previous time she said it. It's a computer. A computer is hassling me. I'm even more irritated now. I say. I'm surprised. I meant to say, leave me alone, a completely reasonable response in my opinion, but I failed to speak. Incorrect, says the computer. What's 2 plus 2? Time for an experiment. I try to say hello. Whoosh, I say. Incorrect. What's 2 plus 2? What's going on? I want to find out, but I don't have much to work with. I can't see. I can't hear anything other than the computer. I can't even feel. No, that's not true. I feel something. I'm lying down. I'm on something soft. A bed. I think my eyes are closed. That's not so bad. All I have to do is open them. I try, but nothing happens. Why can't I open my eyes? Open. And open. Open, dang it. Oh, I felt a wiggle that time. My eyelids moved. I felt it. Open. My eyelids creep up and blinding light sears my retinas. Glun, I say. I keep my eyes open with sheer force of will. Everything is white with shades of pain. Eye movement detected, my tormentor says. What's 2 plus 2? And that was from Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. Okay, so I guess I'll just start way back up at the beginning and just go through like that. My thought about the first book is that I loved all of the descriptions, although the sentences were so run-on, it was exhausting. I just kind of wish, he'd broken it up a little bit, but in terms of setting something up, it seems like beautiful and full of possibility, obviously in the past of the US, and we have some planters who are looking at territory that at the time was undeveloped from a Western perspective. And yeah, I think it sounds enticing. I mean, I love all of the description. I'm trying to get myself to, appreciate description more in novels because it's a very important part of writing, really. And then book 2 is the one I actually read, Everyone Knows Your Mother is a Witch. And I feel like you can already tell a little bit of the humorous, wry tone. And my remembrance of reading this book is, when you think about, books that are about witch hunts that were written in modern times, it's not really about the witch hunts themselves. Like The Death of the Salesman is about McCarthyism, and so I can't help but think that this book is more of a commentary on Trumpism because it was written during his first presidency. And it might have even been a COVID project if I remember correctly. But for me, I actually liked this book a lot. I thought it was clever and engaging. Then for book 3, things start to fall a little for me. Book 3 is a book about books, and it's just, it's too meta. There's not a story here. We're just talking about, the power of book because book, and that just doesn't work for me much. I don't want to listen to a pencil or stick it in my ear. I just want a story, please. And then we get to book 4, which also I think I'm also drawn to. It's a setup of two women who seem to be living together, and one of them wasn't there when expected. But of course, most of what is happening on the page is a visit to the hospital where a relation, somebody who's related to them somehow, seems to be in a coma or have something going on that's a little unexplained. And so we got characters going on and the promise of, relationships, and so, I'm all in for that. But then we get into book 5, which is the first foray into science fiction and the one that doesn't work for me as well. I guess this is commentary on cyber culture, where you can go into these, portals of everything, and people can spend their time getting obliterated somehow, and there could be some interesting commentary in here, but the absurdity doesn't really speak to me that much. I'm more taken with the final book, science fiction, although what you can tell is sci-fi about it is that there's a robot, which I guess, to me, it sounds futuristic, and of course I also know I remember slightly more about this book. I haven't read it. I did read Andy Weir's first book, The Martian, which I think is far more scientific than this book. This one I think is a little more on the fantastical side, although he's had a couple and I'm not sure I'm keeping all of them straight. But if I were to give him a try, I might go with this. I mean, it seems a little pedestrian, the writing, but obviously there's a conflict at hand. And it would be an extra stressor to me to be in pain and not understand why my faculties aren't working, and then have a computer demanding to 2 plus 2. Hopefully he'll be able to say 4 and get an answer soon about what's going on. But I guess if I were to pick one of these books, which I probably won't because I have too much to read anyway, but if I had to add another one to my TBR, I might go with the first one for all of those descriptions and the promise. I do like, the fourth one as well, although I just had a death in the family. In fact, I have to get this video up pretty quickly because I'll be going out of town very soon for the funeral. So I guess I'm not quite as much in the mood right now for, the hospital setting. But, I'll put it on the back burner perhaps. And that about covers it for me now. I will leave Goodreads links to all of the books I talked about, as well as links to reviews of the books I mentioned that I've already read. And I hope to be back on this channel with my next March Am reading video, so stay tuned for that. And that brings me back to reading for this year's BookTube prize, where I am starting to feel a little bit of the pinch now, because we have just over a week left, I think, before the ballot is due. And as I mentioned now, my schedule's a little wonky. I have to go out of town for a funeral. I'll be on an airplane. I'm hoping that could get in some significant reading time, and maybe I could, relax a little, have some downtime with the book as well. So hopefully things will work out. I hope things work out for you. I'd also love to hear your opinions about these books if you've read them or are now considering to read them. And in the meantime, thanks so much for watching, everyone, and I'll see you next time.